You know, I realized before recording this video that I've got 2 vinyl copies of the Black Parade, and I don't think that I need both of those. I mean, how about I make a little deal with you guys? 1,000 likes on this video, as long as you're following me on Instagram, linked in the description down below, I'll give away one of these copies on vinyl. Simple as that. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. Time to talk about one of my all-time favorite bands, My Chemical Romance. I'm going to be talking about the Living with Ghosts part of this Black Parade / Living with Ghost MCRX compilation album. And I just have one thing to say to the marketing team behind this. You know, all the way back in July, whenever you guys tweeted out, oh, you know, coming September 23rd, everyone thinking it's a reunion, or maybe just something that we could get our hopes up for. Huge middle finger, it's just a reissue. Now with that being said, I was very excited to see some older MCR material being unearthed, being brought to the light of day for the first time. And I am a little bit disappointed that the majority of this is just like demos. Obviously you can tell that not all of the lyrical content was finished. Some of these songs differ, and it's just very, very raw. I mean, Gerard doesn't sound perfect on all of these tracks by any means, but obviously these were rough takes in the studio, and you kind of have to know that going in. You cannot expect gold performances on every single track. Like there's parts in the Mama demo that sound a little bit out there, and parts of Kill All Your Friends where the vocals are kind of in and out, but that's okay. And I'm realizing whenever I'm reviewing this record that not everyone has heard some of these songs that came as like deluxe edition tracks or started as like demos. I mean, The Five of Us Are Dying, the lead single from this little Living with Ghosts part of the project, has been teased before. I feel like Gerard Way and some of the other band members have talked about it before, but it never really saw the light of day. And then of course the track Kill All Your Friends, that was like a B-side / deluxe edition track. So if you've never heard that, I recommend hearing the original version first. I believe you can find that on Spotify or even Apple Music. I actually did review the Black Parade back in 2012, my second favorite album of all time. If you guys are interested in seeing a redemption review for that, because I don't really like my first review much at all, honestly. It just felt a little bit rambly. I didn't even really talk in detail about the things that I really needed to / wanted to. If you would like to see an updated version of my thoughts on it, definitely sound off in the comment section down below. But how does the material on this Living with Ghost album sound, John? Stop beating around the bush. I can hear your comments now. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Well, they're definitely demos and rough mixes, and hold your horses. That's not a bad thing, not necessarily at all. Some of the moments do feel a little bit too rough, and I'm like, okay, this was just something that they put on there. They really needed something for this compilation record to make it a little bit longer. They wanted another version of a track, so they just took a total first take and just put it on there. But I don't really feel like that, especially as I've listened to it more and I've started to see and appreciate and just get the history on the Black Parade. You can see some of the lyrical content being lifted from some of these songs, or even guitar riffs, like The Five of Us Are Dying. Obviously that track turned into Welcome to the Black Parade, one of My Chemical Romance's biggest songs, hit number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, a huge track in 2006, and you see that started as The Five of Us Are Dying. It starts off with a piano, kind of a different piano intro obviously on that one, and then it works in some of the other members as well, and you can see some of the lyrics stay the same. Sometimes I get the feeling she's watching over me, and then from there it kind of evolves and takes on its own theme. And some of these songs just feel like Gerard in the studio really just kind of tinkering with what he wanted to say, because Mama or even Disenchanted, you can see that there were evolutions from what he originally came up with. And not that the original parts are bad by any means. In fact, I think it's really, really fascinating, and obviously it sounds very raw in the studio, the guys just playing, and I think the instrumentals are a lot closer a lot of the time to what actually made the record than really Gerard's vocals or a lot of the lyrical content. But I honestly like seeing that evolution and just the progress that they made. It's not always making for the best songs, I don't suppose, and maybe something that you will come back to time and time again, but honestly, there were some big standouts here. Some tracks that really just kind of surprised me and blew me out of the water. Emily being the biggest of those. This track is absolutely fantastic. I love how this track starts off. It's a little bit slower. It kind of fits in with the theme, and honestly, if this had been finished, I could have seen it fitting in on this record. Maybe as like a love interest for the patient, going in the rock opera's theme on the Black Parade. Emily is one of those tracks that just sees somebody very disconcerted with somebody. You know, there's actually some pretty memorable lines on here, especially the one, "It was a headshot, but you gave me the gun," implying that, you know, you put this in my hands and when I fucked it up, this is basically on you. And I love that. It's got a really catchy chorus on it. It's very dark, like I already mentioned, but I love the thrashing drums and the guitar line on it. That's something that could be said for a handful of these tracks, quite honestly. There's a few that caught me by surprise. Just kind of scrolling through the track listing here, I mean, I think that there's some ones that really caught my eye. "My Way Home Is Through You." That's one that I didn't initially like. I played it a couple of times and actually kind of left that one on repeat to let it kind of settle in. And I started kind of gravitating towards it. I like Way's vocals on this one, and even the track that comes right before that in terms of like the new tracks that we've never heard before, "Party at the End of the World." That's a theme that we heard a lot on Danger Days, their album that came out in 2010. And between 2006 and 2010, a lot of things changed in My Chemical Romance, but it almost feels like maybe this is something that ended up being on Danger Days, whether it just be like an idea, but everybody knows there's a party at the end of the world. But maybe that's just me spitballing. I feel like this track is one of my favorites though. I love the guitar line on it. It starts off, it's very noisy. I love how it's kind of split up, especially if you're listening on headphones. You can really kind of see how it's channeled into the left ear on that one, and then on the right you're hearing more of the bass and the drum work, and then it all kind of culminates together, and it has a very striking and fervent guitar line, especially towards the end of the track. It's a very enjoyable one, and honestly one of the best songs on this compilation. Now, I do like some of these demos as well. I thought the Mama one was fantastic, and another one that took me by surprise, and I think a lot of fans are really gonna love, the original version of House of Wolves. That is one of my least favorite tracks on the Black Parade. Still love it to death. I love the version 2 demo as well. That actually seems more like the actual track because, you know, that's what it actually turned into. But this one is a totally different song that just has the same name, but it's about totally different things. And even the chorus on that one, he's saying in this House of Wolves, it's a slower tune. It's not as manic, it's not as wild and out there, but at the same time, there's a certain chaos about it, and I love all of the different elements. I like just all throughout these demos and everything, they're still playing around with the pianos, they're mixing in some like harder guitars, some punkier elements as well, and they aren't afraid to get heavy and just thematic, and they did play outside of the box a little bit. I think it did stray from the original album's narrative. I can see why some of these songs weren't really finished, but I think that they're absolutely kind of fantastic in their own right. Not every single one, but there is one final track that I have to mention because it feels like the perfect closer for this thing, and I love that they actually left it as the closer. I don't know how much input My Chemical Romance themselves had on this compilation record. I don't know if it was mainly Reprise and Warner Brothers, or exactly if it was like Gerard and Ray and Mikey, everybody kind of coming together and saying, all right, this is how we want to order it after the actual Black Parade. But the track All the Angels is the one that closes out this record, and I love just these dark elements. Once again, it's kind of a sinister track, and it does a great job at storytelling. I love it when My Chem can do that, pull it off so well. This is one of those songs where I feel very invested in the story. Including the Disenchanted demo that comes right before this, we get back-to-back songs that really primarily focus on the guitar, at least starting off. With Disenchanted, it's got a totally different opening feel and just kind of starts off with the guitar and breaks into the lyrics a little bit faster. It's not quite as yearning or maybe emotional, but it is all the same in a different way. It's really hard to explain how I feel about it, but I really do love how that track starts. And then with All the Angels, like I said, we get this storytelling element. We see somebody from the outside looking in, just a stranger getting picked up at 4 a.m. in the middle of the night after receiving a call. And it just kind of has this sultry, slow burning guitar and just a steady thumping drum rhythm, and I love how Gerard just seems so steadfast on this track. It's almost like a Western leaning vibe where he's just sitting in a saloon telling the story to someone, and it goes out on a eerily positive and really good note, I think, for the record. Not positive in terms of maybe the story or the lyrical content, but positive in terms of how great this demos collection wrapped up. There's some that I definitely don't see myself coming back to. I mean, the Five of Us Are Dying is definitely a good track, and I like seeing the evolution there, but I definitely prefer the new and finished version of Welcome to the Black Parade. And then there's a couple of the other demos, and plus, I think the track, honestly, Not That Kind of Girl, is one that was a new track we had never heard from them before, but I don't really feel like it's got that much staying power whenever it comes to the hook. It just feels like something that we've heard from My Chem before, probably because it actually got turned into something else, or maybe it was another idea that they had floating around very similar to that, so it doesn't really click with me all that much. There's a few that I'm going to skip over, but honestly, there's definitely some surprises here. I think that it's worth listening to. Sorry if I was a little bit rambly with this review here, but this kind of is a scattershot little album, a little compilation, Living with Ghosts, part of this Black Parade Living with Ghosts compilation. So for me personally, I'm going with a 4 out of 5. I definitely recommend you check it out if you're a My Chemical Romance fan, or if you're just kind of into, I guess, the alternative scene and maybe that style of music. If you like some bands that are similar to My Chemical Romance and you haven't spent a ton of time checking them out, this could be a cool place for you to start. Just kind of get a little bit of a history lesson on them. Thanks so much for watching my review of Living with Ghosts. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, because 1,000 likes and we do that giveaway over on my Instagram account, instagram.com/ARTVreviews. Got to be following me over there in order to be eligible for this contest, and yeah, hopefully we will unlock that very soon. Thanks so much for being here today. If you'd like to check out more of My Chemical Romance reviews or a recent review that I did on this channel, click the little annotations directly below me. All of my social media like Facebook and Twitter is linked in the description, along with more information about this album, my favorites, least favorites, all that good stuff. Other than that, I will see you guys very, very soon right here on ARTV.